You spoke last year at the Super Bowl about more alt casts coming down the pipeline, which we and you mentioned some of them a little earlier in this conversation. You got the Madden cast on Peacock, the Simpsons, more Slime cast on Nick, and those join those regular Manning casts. Can we expect some more experimentation coming up in this next season? And would it involve a little bit more around betting?
We're very focused on this as a real growth area for us. And it's a growth area not only to reach new and different fans here. And I think that's a key that we've learned about this is when you're going to create one of these alternative experiences, it really needs to have a distinct purpose. It really needs to be able to resonate. Our primary broadcasts are so good. And for most fans, that's going to scratch their itch. So if we want to do something incremental and alongside that, what are we creating? How is it going to be appealing to fans? What fans are we reaching? And that's not only here, but globally. Some of the benefit of some of these new forms like The Simpsons or the Toy Story is it goes to over 90 countries around the world. It's on Disney Plus for a month. Like if I have a 5-year-old daughter who will watch Frozen probably whenever you let her watch, the idea of some of these shows are like they're not about just watching a game, it's like watching a movie. And so how do you engage in that way? We're lucky, another project that I've been very proud to be at and since inception is our next gen stats platform, and the team and Josh Helmrich, Matt Swenson, who have led that, have done an incredible job building that. That's at the backbone of so much of what we do. That's literally where we put two chips in the players' shoulder pads and we get all their tracking data. That data is what ultimately goes into the simulation engines that allow us to do so much of those unique and different broadcasts. Also, what's powering Amazon's if you watch it, their Prime Vision and what they're doing with some of the predictive AI stuff about who's blitzing and what when, that's all powered by next gen. So we really think, and if you think about the broadcast innovation and what the first and 10 line was and how that changed for people, I think Amazon's starting to scratch that itch. So not all of it, Molly, will be just alternative broadcast. The hope, like it was with Prime Vision, that now is part of the main Thursday night broadcast, that some of this stuff will lead its way and work its way into the core broadcast over time. And again, that hope and focus on innovation is something we're really always mindful of and always focused on. On sports betting, I think we're going to continue to be appropriate in how we evolve there. I think a lot of our strategy has been around the main broadcast. Let's keep that to the widest possible audience. And some people are interested in sports betting, some people aren't. And so I think what you'll see us continue to do where there are more opportunities around that to do that in a targeted way for people that are looking for an experience that maybe offers more of that. We'll probably do it more in these alt broadcasts, as you referenced, as areas to go deeper for that part of our fan base and our audience, and make sure that the people watching the main broadcast that may be less interested in that, don't have to see as much of that. But we think that's something a needle we can thread. And I'm sure, like other areas, we're just scratching the surface there about how that may make our games more compelling. How do we drive more engagement with our games through more of that type content?
All right, Hans, we always like to finish these up with a couple of quick hits, briefer answers than what we have been getting into. I want to start with this. The NFL's relationship with Skydance has been, how would you describe it?
It's been excellent. Those guys are great. David and Jesse have been awesome partners to work with. And again, I've maybe used this expression a couple times now, so I'm a little bit, but we're just getting started. I won't say scratching the surface. We're just getting started here. Those guys are incredible. The business they've built at Skydance and the ability, that partnership was all created around there's a bigger opportunity here in sports, and NFL Films, who I think is the best in the business, certainly around football. How do we take a partner that can help take the expertise of what Ross Ketover and the team have down in films and build on that? And I think Skydance it has done that and will continue to do that. And we're excited about the road ahead.
Elevator pitch. Why does someone need to subscribe to NFL Plus?
It's the go-to app for the most avid of fans. You have every game, in-market game, right there in front of you on your phone, no matter where you are. You see deeper content like the network now, NFL Red Zone. Now you have all games on demand. If you missed anything, you have NFL Pro that's giving you deeper stats and analysis. To me, if you're an NFL fan, it's the app you have to get everything NFL. And the team out in LA, Gil Moran, have done an unbelievable job building that. And again, I think that's an area you'll see us continue to invest in, continue to expand the offerings there. But they've done a great job to date. And again, it's the one thing, it's the app I'm in every day throughout the season. There's something there for me that I'm going there every day to check out. So
I've played a lot of the NFL Pro Era game on the MetaQuest and VR. Are there any talks for maybe more live game experiences within VR?
that's an interesting one because I think that's been a conversation that's been out there for a while. And how do we bring it to life in the most interesting and compelling way? I think we'll continue to talk to the partners in the space that are building visions in VR. I think we're going to be hyper focused that it's the right and compelling experience. That's one of the things that my team and Grace Senko has spent a lot of time on and thinking about how and where there's new distribution opportunities. We did a partnership with Cosm this year. That's more of a place-based model, but it's an immersive, different way to view. We had a great findings. That was a really interesting way to grow and engage fans in a different way that may not be, at the stadium on game day. Another way to get a really immersive NFL viewing experience. VR hopefully can present opportunities like that. Austin, and we'll stay focused on it. I think we just got to figure out what the right way to bring that to life, especially around a live game. And there's also ways to do that in a way to bring fans into the live game experience. It's not necessarily a new idea, but maybe somebody overseas that doesn't have the opportunity to sit 50-yard line at the Super Bowl, maybe someday VR is a way to give them that experience. But again, got to make sure it's the right one, with the right devices, with the right delivery, with the right experience all around it. And so the good news as a content company is, other people in that ecosystem are making those investments and advancing the technology all along. So, we'll continue those conversations and we'll see where and when that right experience really pops up.
The NFL draft is an event in itself now. What are you looking to accomplish with the next media rights deal, which is separate from the rest of the rights deal?
The draft is, for many of our fans, it's both the start of really the next season of coming after free agency, I guess, but also the start of that next journey and hope of the new players and excitement about the new players and additions that your team is adding. Um, and so ESPN has been at the core of that, and they've been a partner for a long, long time. But we also, want to make sure we're continuing to innovate there and grow it. And this will be the first time I think really we've ever had we're in the midst of taking the draft to market, and hearing the market reaction has been really awesome and incredible to see. I think so many, there's just so much more to do there over those 3 days, and maybe it's more than 3 days in the future. And how do we bring that to life? How do we grow distribution? How do we get in front of, like we are with our games, get in front of more screens? How are there more experiences we can build around those 3 days with the story of these players? Again, these players coming into the league are incredible, and maybe there's more opportunities to be beyond just a linear experience, of give a sort of multi-linear experience to do that. And also do that in different markets. It's one of the greatest things. That was a project, you know, that got handed back in 14 and 15 when we started looking at the draft of different models, and got to really lead and shape some of that, and ultimately went to Chicago with that first draft. But what it's grown into, and the ability, almost like a mini Super Bowl, to bring the NFL into a market, into one of our home team's markets, and see the excitement around that. Green Bay in late April is going to be amazing. I mean, can you imagine that in Lambeau? It's just awesome. Like, it'd be awesome if it snows, right? Like, it just would be incredible. Imagine Lambeau and that environment at that time of year. So I think there's just ways to bring that experience to life and on more screens and in potentially more platforms than we've done before. But it's the first time of really being able to go out and openly talk to the market. Our vision is really reaffirmed by what we've heard back from the marketplace.
All right, Hans, we'll get you out of here on this. In a perfect world, no, ignore the rights questions here. For an animated NFL game, and it sounds like your daughter would love for it to be in the Frozen universe, but what universe would you want to see an NFL animated altcast game in? Like, I know I would love to see maybe like I'm not even a Patriots fan, but I'd love to see a Patriots game with like the Family Guy universe. What would be your ideal scenario?
Well, it's easy. Star Wars. I mean, I'm a huge Star Wars guy, so that's a layup. The Frozen one's interesting because there is a Hans in Frozen too, but we always have to
There is.
explain
Yeah.
evil Prince Han, so that gets a little close to home with my daughter Sydney. So, but for me, Star Wars would be just unbelievable to bring that to life. Given that franchise, remember seeing Star Wars in the theaters years and years ago, and always been a big Star Wars fan ever since. So, to me as a fan, but the great part across our partners, they all have incredible IP. Go to every partner. I mean, Yeah, you could go to each one of the partners and they have some form of other IP they could bring to life. I mean, you could do a bond with Amazon. You have Paw Patrol with Paramount or otherwise. You have the Minions with NBC. Like,
I bet Minions would do really well. That's an actually very interesting one.
No, Minions is nightmare fuel. Like, oh, that's my worst nightmare.
and I think we're starting to see that from our partners where, like, look, this is a great way to intersect different parts of their business with the NFL and bring these things to life in a new and invigorating way. So, um, I'm a Star Wars, but I think you could go pretty deep down that list pretty quickly and get a lot of other great experiences.
Well,
We're excited.
for any of those Clone Wars editors that are listening to this podcast, start getting your drawings ready. We need
Tales of the Jedi.
Tales of the Jedi. They've done that.
Yeah.
Tales from the Dark Side. That's right. Hans, we wish you the best of luck with the rest of this week in New Orleans. Should be another fantastic Sunday with the big game. I know Molly and many others are super amped for that Kendrick Lamar halftime show. Hans Schroeder, the NFL's Executive Vice President of Media Distribution and a two-time SBJ 40 under 40 honoree. Thank you for coming on the show this week.
Thanks for having me, Molly and Austin, and enjoy the game on Sunday. We'll talk soon. Thanks much.